Have you ever met someone and thought, wow, they have it all together? You know the type. Great job, charming smile. Their jokes actually land. And then you find out their internal monologue is a 24/7 cage match between a screaming toddler and a deeply disappointed opera singer? Let's talk about Eli. He wasn't born with a one-way ticket to Cuckooville. No, he started out as a regular, wonder-filled kid who probably asked profound questions like, why is the sky blue? And do dogs have a favorite Power Ranger? But the world, in its infinite and often hilariously cruel wisdom, had other plans. His childhood home wasn't a home sweet home kind of place. It was more of a welcome to the Thunderdome. His dad had the emotional range of a startled badger, and his mom's superpower was performing a vanishing act whenever things got, well, badgery. So little Eli learned to navigate his house like he was in a real-life game of Minesweeper, memorizing every single creaky floorboard. The dinner table wasn't for eating. It was a war zone where words were thrown like spaghetti at a wall, and nobody ever bothered to clean it up. But here's the real kicker. It wasn't just the shouting that did the damage. It was the silence afterward. The next day, everyone would slap on these bright, fake smiles and pretend they were the Brady Bunch. That is gaslighting. It's the emotional equivalent of someone punching you in the face and then asking, why are you hitting yourself? Do that to a kid long enough, and they start to believe it. You see, a human mind is resilient, but it's not invincible. Trauma doesn't just sit in your memories like a dusty photo album. It's a sneaky little gremlin that gets into your wiring and messes with the settings. It's like installing the wrong software on a perfectly good computer. Suddenly, your default setting is danger, and you start seeing threats everywhere, from an unanswered text to a barista who definitely put extra foam in your latte out of spite. So, how did our hero cope? He became a chameleon, a social ninja. Eli could read a room so well, he could tell you what kind of day you had based on the way you said hello. He was funny, he was charming, he was whatever you needed him to be. But underneath all that, he was as empty as a politician's promise. It was like his soul had packed its bags, left a note on the fridge saying, "Gone fishing, good luck with all this," and peaced out. The crazy didn't hit him like a lightning bolt. It was more of a slow, awkward slide into the DMs of madness. First came the insomnia, that super fun feeling that something is terribly, horribly wrong even when you're just in bed trying to watch cat videos. Then came the paranoia. Was that person across the street laughing at him? Probably. Relationships became his personal Vietnam, where he was both the heroic soldier and the guy planting the landmines. He'd push people away with the force of a medieval trebuchet, and then stand there, shocked and heartbroken, when they didn't come flying back. He even tried therapy once. He sat there and told the therapist he felt numb, that his dreams were like a Salvador Dali painting directed by a drunk Michael Bay, and that sometimes he'd look in the mirror and not recognize the dude staring back. They gave him some fancy labels: anxiety, depression, which is kind of like putting a get-well-soon band-aid on a shark bite. It's a nice gesture, but it doesn't quite get to the root of the problem. And here's the secret no one ever tells you about going crazy. It's not madness, it's exhaustion. It's your soul finally throwing in the towel on the performance of a lifetime. When you've spent your entire life suppressing and swallowing your pain, eventually your psyche says, you know what? I'm done. I can't. I'm clocking out. The human mind isn't a machine. It's more like a very delicate and overly dramatic tapestry. And when that tapestry has been soaked in years of silent tears and unsaid screams, it starts to unravel. Eli started having full-blown conversations with himself. Not just, where did I put my keys? But heated debates about the meaning of life with, well, himself. He started seeing patterns. The universe was speaking to him. A car ad wasn't just an ad. It was a divine sign that he needed to move to Finland. A pigeon winking at him, pigeons don't wink by the way, was a message from a higher power. What was really happening? His brain, so starved for order, started cooking up its own. It's the ultimate DIY project for a fractured mind. Unresolved trauma is like a toddler hopped up on sugar and espresso. It will not let you rest. Of course, the world doesn't see that. The world sees crazy and either runs for the hills or grabs popcorn to watch the show. Eli didn't go crazy because he was weak. He went crazy because he was strong for way too long. Psychology talks about the false self. It's the carefully curated, filtered version of us that we present to the world. It's our Instagram filter for reality. It's designed to help us survive, not to live. But that mask is heavy. And one day, it cracks. And what's left underneath? The shadow. All the messy stuff you pretended wasn't there. The rage you swore you didn't have. The grief you said didn't matter. Madness is the soul's protest. It's the mind finally screaming, I've been holding the phone for you for 20 years and you never answered. But here's the beautiful, terrifying twist. When everything falls apart, you're finally left with the one thing that can actually save you, the truth. And man, is it ugly. Eli's truth, he was hurt, he was neglected. He was never seen for who he really was. And for years, he told himself it was fine. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Healing for him started when he finally turned around to face the monster in his closet. And you know what's scarier than the monster? The vulnerability it takes to even open the door. Eli started to write. Not for clarity, not for a bestseller, just to get the poison out. The pages were a glorious mess of scribbles, angry drawings, and sometimes just the same sentence repeated over and over. I didn't deserve this. That sentence was a key. It didn't bring him peace. It gave him permission. Permission to be angry, to be sad, to finally feel. And somewhere in that mess, he found a little glimmer of something he hadn't seen in years. Hope. He went back to therapy, but this time, he didn't try to be the good patient. He was a hot mess. He wept for the child who had to grow up too fast, and for the adult who never felt safe. He wasn't cured, but he wasn't lost anymore. He learned that the madness was never the enemy. It was just a message, a desperate cry for attention from the parts of himself he had locked away. For anyone who has ever felt like they're going crazy, if the world feels too loud and you feel too broken, know this. You're not broken, you're just buried. And healing isn't about becoming some shiny, new, perfect person. It's about remembering who you were before the pain taught you to forget. So how do you begin? Start with silence. Not the numb, disconnected kind, but the sacred silence of actually listening to yourself. Write, scream, dance badly in your living room, cry. Do it consciously and without shame. And most of all, don't heal to be perfect. Heal so you can be real, so you can finally look in the mirror and recognize the person looking back. Because the world doesn't need more masks. It needs more people who have survived their own shadow and come back with a story to tell.